you've all been waiting for.
Pick yourself up and dust yourself down. Open up your eyes and take a look around. I'm standing on the edge, not afraid to look down. Life is a fight. I can see your vultures flying overhead. Broken bones scattered, my left foot dead. I'm standing on the edge, not afraid to look down. Ooh, yeah. Life is a fight.
Showtime! The moment is now.
From Paul M. Cuomo, what's more problematic, Dan Hardy breaking his professional conduct for someone he personally knows and likes? I think he's overseen training rooms with Jai. Might be wrong on that. Or that Herb Dean sees a man go completely stiff for a period of seconds and doesn't think it's a bad stoppage. Okay. Let's get to this, shall we? To me, this is honestly one of the biggest stories coming out of the weekend. Okay. What do we want to say about this? Here's the first thing I would like to say that I think really... I don't think you can go any further in this conversation without acknowledging this. Every time somebody in MMA, usually a fighter, sometimes a former fighter turned commentator, says something really bad about an officiant, there's a common refrain from everybody else. And the refrain is that it was unprofessional. Let me give you an example. Flashback to Florida. Dom Cruz doesn't like the stoppage from Keith Peterson and said the guy smelled like cigarettes and alcohol. Now, is that true? Probably not. I mean, Dom's probably just very upset. I don't know. I can't say for certain, but okay. What did you notice from people at the time in condemning Dom Cruz? That's a really unfair character assassination, and he shouldn't say things like that. I understand that. I'm not here to defend Dominic Cruz saying Keith Peterson smells like cigarettes and booze. I'm not here to defend Dan Hardy taking time out of the broadcast to yell. Because if you guys saw what he had said later, Herb Dean on Instagram, when you have a sort of a small arena like this where there are essentially no fans and you hear stop the fight, it can be confusing and somewhat of an issue because it could be someone's corner yelling that or the doctor, and he doesn't know in real time who's yelling it. Now, it appears to not have an effect because he didn't act on it, but still, it's a fair concern. I don't think there's any problem with that. I'm not defending Dominic Cruz's actions there per se. I am not defending Dan Hardy's actions on Saturday night per se. Here's what I am going to say as a conversation starter to all of this. If commissions want less of this kind of thing, right? If they want scenarios where referees or other officiants, judges, or whoever don't get dragged through the mud, perhaps quite unfairly, maybe not so much in this situation, but others, then you have to stop shielding yourselves from every single form of accountability and public scrutiny. If you are a fighter and you believe you have been done wrong by the referee, what recourse do you have? The answer is basically none. Because most commissions have rigged the rules to say where, you know, it's almost like these stupid ass laws that allow people to pull guns and murder their own neighbors. Did you feel threatened? I mean, whether or not the situation was actually threatening is irrelevant. How did you feel? They do the same thing to the referees. Well, did you feel like you were acting in your the fighter's best interest? How did you think that he was going out? Whether or not that the occupational competency is in play here or not is irrelevant. And so you have no recourse. If you are a fighter, you get no recourse with UFC other than whatever leverage in the marketplace you can pull together, which is very little. You have no say over sponsors. Maybe the media is not fair to you, and you have absolutely no ability to control your destiny with the commission other than to genuflect before them. Ladies and gentlemen, if people lash out at commissions who have spent the entirety of their existence not making themselves accountable to the public, not making themselves available for transparency. You just had this past week before Nevada no longer disclosing any kind of purse information for MMA or boxing, which do you think for a fucking second has anything to do with serving the fighters' interests? Dude, they get screwed every which way, and in particular by the commissions, where they can try to ban you for life if you're Nick Diaz smoking weed. Only the public pressure brings it down to like this exorbitant sentence where it was 5 years, right? And then even further public scrutiny was the only thing that saved you was outrage. If you're Nick Diaz, the only thing that saved you was outrage. Well, no wonder people resort to outrage. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean you can be like, yes, well, outrage is certainly a valid mechanism by which we can just let things happen. You can't just allow people to do those kinds of things. But hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a hard problem to diagnose. Herb Dean took the time to go to Instagram and explain himself, and whether you like it or not, he at least had the willingness to do that, but he didn't have to do that, and most don't. And you think and this is, by the way, there's no commission in this particular case since they're self-regulating, but you think Nevada is going to do anything, if you believe Herb Dean to be in the wrong, you think they're going to do anything to like censure him, reevaluate his training, right? No, they're not going to do shit. They're not going to do anything. These commissions have absolutely rigged the system in such a way as to never be accountable for failure, never be accountable for questioning, never be accountable for transparency. And so people, after years and years and years and years of dealing with this, some of them fighters, some of them managers, some of them trainers, some of them former fighters turned coaches, some of them just observers, the only recourse left to you is lashing out. That's it. What else can you do? There's no official mechanism by which you can go and lobby your concerns, or you can show up to a meeting and at the end in Nevada, you can say what you want. They're going to tell you to go fuck yourself. They don't care. They're not going to listen to you. Listen, you don't matter to them. This is it. This is the only way people have to affect change. It should not be this way. It should not be a system by where your only means of getting any kind of productive development around a problem is to be unprofessional. And yet that is exactly what we have. So if you want to say Dan Hardy acted out in a way that was irresponsible, I won't fight you on it. I will not fight you. If you want to say Dominic Cruz should not be assassinating someone's character like that just because he didn't like the decision, I will not fight you on it because I can't defend them in and of themselves. But you had better take a long look at the system here and recognize that if you want to blame these actors, you better look around and realize they are only responding to the incentives laid out in front of them, which is they have no other way of affecting change. Oh, it's not Dan Hardy's responsibility to say anything. Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. But who else is going to say something? Right? This is a self-regulated thing. You think Mark Ratner's going to go in there and give him a piece of his mind? Mark Ratner's one of the nicest guys on earth, and I think really believes in the competency of the people that they hired. You think, again, I'm not suggesting to you that I'm not weighing in on Herb's choice here because I think there's something that really is involved here. You think that there are any professional consequences to this? None. This will just keep happening. The only thing that commissions respond to is public scandal. That is it. That is it. And if you don't want it to be that way, because you don't think it's appropriate for these other actors in the space to be saying the things that they're saying, fine. What you better be advocating for on the other end is a mechanism by which these things can be addressed. Because so long as your argument is, well, they shouldn't be doing that, you are only addressing half the problem, and you are not diagnosing where these symptoms come from. They come from the fact that fighters get fucked 6 ways to Sunday by every power broker in this sport. That is just a fact. That is a fact. That is an absolute fact that is not up for debate. Anybody who has power in this industry uses it to fuck fighters. So the sooner you just burn that into your consciousness and understand that, the easier all this becomes to diagnose as a problem. Now, what do we make? Here, I'll go to the next question and I'll use this one. Actually, 15 was PD World 99. Just how much has Herb Dean fallen from grace? I don't know how to answer that question for you. I see a lot of people say, well, Herb Dean's fallen off and it's been real bad. And yes, I can point to a couple of these stoppages that have been not great. I did not like the one over the weekend, and I did not like the CB Dalloway one against the Russian guy, I forget. It was a similar situation. It was Paul Felder and Dan Hardy screaming at Herb Dean to stop the fight. And then you had CB Dalloway come out afterwards and be like, that dude, I don't know what he's doing. On the other hand, you should know that there's been times where I have questioned some of Herb's stoppages. He's called me personally to explain them, and I got a better understanding afterwards. Number one. Number two, when we say a referee has now fallen from grace, right? So we are saying that there was good performance, or at least a high stature, and that we are now at a lower place. By what measurement are we using? I'm not here to say that it's not a correct argument. What I mean to say is I put out a tweet over the weekend. I was like, if you were sort of in control of all of this, and you had a way to assess referee performance and make a call about it, what are the specific mechanisms and criteria you would change or put in place or whatever to make a call? Here's what I'm saying. How many calls are too bad to the point where you have to then remove somebody or demote them? Like, do we have a number? Like, what are we looking for? How bad do they have to be? Do they have to intervene too early, intervene too late, a little bit of both? What you end up finding is that, again, the commissions just have latitude. They just kind of wait until enough happens, usually through public scandal. In the case of Steve Mazzagatti, the number one promoter in the sport, sort of railing against him was enough over time to get them to bend. But the point being is they just have the latitude to say whenever they feel like it's been enough. We don't have, to my understanding, any kind of formal review process related to the accumulation of individual incidents that let us know, some kind of further review is warranted, and that review should result in either sanction or re-education or no fault, whatever the various things can come from that. There is, as again, no formal process by which to decide this. So when people say, oh, he's had a bunch of these, my response is, okay, maybe he has. How many is he supposed to have before we're concerned? And I'm not saying he's had too many or too little. This would go for any referee. What is the process by which you decide performance has declined? What is the process by which you do something about it? To my knowledge, there is none. There might be some internal reviews, but there is nothing in terms of the public can look at as a grading system, as some kind of scoring, for occupational competency that they can review. There's just what the commission wants to do. And then at least the other one here from Pack_Attack55. Did you watch Herb's post on Instagram? And if so, he makes valid points on why it gets tricky when someone yells stop the fight if it's not the sports physician or corner your thoughts. I thought that was a very perfectly reasonable response to the critique. The part about this that I don't understand, here's where I'm at on this one. I don't think Herb's a bad guy. That's not the same to say, lots of people aren't bad guys who should not be referees. But okay, hold on a second here. Let's break this down piece by piece. If you watch Herb's video, he makes a point there about if anybody just yelling stop the fight is not helpful in a situation like this. Fair point. I don't know how you can really argue with that. The other point that he makes, though, is that he was there above Herbert looking down, and he could see Herbert was making judgments about how to respond to the various threats from Trinaldo. That part I don't understand. He gets dropped and falls like a mannequin with the left hand. Boom. Head hits the canvas. He kind of I'm not going to say he seizures. That's not quite right. But he kind of gets to this sort of naturally defensive position. And then Trinaldo walks over and looks down at him, fist in the air, ready to throw. And Herbert doesn't move. Herbert didn't push off the legs. Herbert didn't roll to turtle. Herbert didn't, try and go for a takedown. He just didn't move. And then you'll notice Trinaldo drills him and eventually just holds his hand and hits him a couple more times. It's like, I don't buy that he was all there. The question you have to ask yourself is, did it look like if you are literally on top of Herbert looking down, did it look like from that vantage point that Herbert was there? And the answer is we don't really know. We're not in that. We can't replicate what Dean sees. I think it's partly why they should have like arresting officers. They should have body cams or ref cams of some kind. I want to get a closer look at what he saw. And even that won't always help you, but I bet you it gets you a lot closer. So to me, it's like if someone comes over and holds a fist like this and they don't scramble or move or do anything, the first shot goes in unobstructed right through your hands. Like it would be one thing if you just didn't move and then the shot comes in and then you didn't, pull your hands closer to your face or roll or squint. He doesn't. He just eats it. And then Trinaldo grabs one hand and then fires the rest from the left. No resistance. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that he was all there. Did he look all there from Herb's vantage point? Is simply an unknowable to this point. But that's where I come down. It's like, I've never seen a fighter do that. If you get threatened like this, they take action. And if you're not controlling their body, no one's controlling his hips, no one's controlling his shoulder. That's what neon belly is. You're controlling their hips. That's what cross-facing is. You're controlling their head and neck. No control whatsoever. None. Just standing over him. First shot unobstructed. I have a very difficult time believing he was all there. By the way, this came a little bit earlier. This comes to us from YouTube. From Paul0132. Do you feel that the event time had an effect on the judging and officiating? If it had an effect on the fighting, and it had an effect on the commentating, which I think that it did, how does it not have an effect elsewhere? Maybe not so pronounced an effect that the wrong person won or something. The question is how much of an effect, but do I think it had one? There's just no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind it had one. Also from YouTube, from David Johnson, has Fight Island been a subtle way for the UFC to usher in the next generation without being overshadowed by the current elite, and who of the new breed has impressed you most? We'll get to that in just a second. Obviously, Khamzat Chimaev was the guy who was the big standout from that. Going back to Instagram here, at Stingray. At this point, why aren't the broadcast team in a soundproof booth somewhere on site instead of cage side? It's clear the fighters can hear them, and if the potential to influence a fight is present, why not remove it? It feels like if you're going to have them off-site, why are they traveling to Abu Dhabi to begin with? Like if you guys watch beIN Sport, I watch a lot of La Liga, I watch Real Madrid. The Ray Hudson and Phil Shane are not at the Bernabeu or, La Fabrica. They're in Miami. They're in the studios there. They're just calling the fights from there. Which is, I think like HD Net did that for Yaranoka. Remember that when Fedor fought Hongman Choi? So it happens. I think they would just rather than be there. You'd rather have commentators who can react to what they hear and see and feel inside the arena. From Jonah Griff _ Dan Hardy verbally confronting Herb Dean mid-broadcast was very reminiscent of Luke and Brian criticizing Jay for his actions during the show. So is Jay like the Herb Dean of Morning Combat? Jay, are you the kind of guy that's going to get other production people killed on the show?
Only behind the scenes. Herb Dean also has like 150 pounds on me, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how much I like that analogy either. No, Jay is more like Herb Dean. I don't know. I'm not sure who Jay is. I have to think about that one a little bit more. I bet Brian has a better answer for that. All right, let's go to Red, White, and Blue. Luke, biggest concerns with Fight Island: referee, judging, no commission, or COVID safety? COVID safety, God, you guys see what's happening with Major League Baseball? What a fucking nightmare that is. Season is not even a week old. Not even. Started on Thursday. Nats Yankees home opener. And it's already, they had to cancel games, and two teams absolutely filled to the brim with COVID. What a nightmare. I mean, here's what we're learning now, I think. If you do what promoters are doing in combat sports, so UFC, Top Rank, Bellator, obviously some of the various properties, PBC working with Showtime, right? Or you do what NBA is doing, which is that on a larger scale, which is a bubble. If you do a bubble, you might have a chance because that's a lot to manage, but it looks like it can be done. Now, the NBA season hasn't started until July 30th, so we've got 3 more days, but you're at least on your way at that point, right? And I know we had the dude going to my man had to go see some titties. Who was the guy, Jay, that went to the strip club? He went to the gentleman's club. What was his name? It wasn't Patrick Beverly, was it? It was somebody else. I forget the guy's name. Who was it? Do you remember?
I'll get it for you. Hang on.
Okay. He had to go, and now, but the thing is, they caught
Williams.
it. Who is it?
Williams.
Lou Williams. Lou Williams, that's right. So they made him quarantine now for 10 days. Look at what NHL is doing. NHL has 2 cities that they're doing like hub activities from, and both are in Canada, which, is a country that's done a much better job. You've got to put things in a bubble, it appears. Otherwise, this is not controllable. So I don't know what they're going to do with NFL football. Because, by the way, you can say what you want about NBA contracts. Maybe this works or it doesn't, but they're guaranteed. Most of your football contracts are not guaranteed. So if you don't play, you don't get paid. I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't know what they're going to do. But the biggest concerns with Fight Island: referee, judging, commission, no commission, COVID safety. Probably the judging.